Have you ever imagined a world where your entire life was ruled by honor, loyalty, and the sword? A world where powerful warrior clans controlled a nation for centuries, where battles decided the fate of emperors, and where one code of honor shaped an entire civilization. How did a small group of warriors known as the samurai rise to dominate Japan for nearly 700 years, and how did their legacy still influence the modern nation we see today? This is the story of the samurai, and the long and dramatic history of Japan. Long before the samurai appeared, Japan was a land of small farming communities and local leaders. By the early centuries of the first millennium, powerful families began to compete for control of land and influence. At the center of this growing society stood the emperor, who was seen as a sacred ruler connected to the gods. But while the emperor held spiritual authority, real power slowly began to move into the hands of regional clans. These clans controlled land, wealth, and soldiers. As Japan's population grew and new lands were developed, powerful landowners needed protection from rivals and rebellions. To defend their property and power, they began to train skilled fighters. These warriors would eventually become known as the samurai. The word samurai originally meant one who serves. At first, they were simply guards and soldiers serving noble families. But over time, their importance grew. As conflicts between clans increased, these warriors became the backbone of military power in Japan, the 10th and 11th centuries. Japan had entered a period where local warlords held more influence than the imperial court. Two powerful clans began to dominate the political landscape, the Taira clan and the Minamoto clan. Both families controlled large armies of samurai and competed fiercely for power. The rivalry between these clans eventually led to one of the most important wars in Japanese history, known as the Genpei War. This conflict lasted from 1180 to 1185 and changed the political structure of Japan forever. The war was brutal and dramatic, filled with battles, betrayals, and heroic stories that would later become legends. In the end, the Minamoto clan emerged victorious. Their leader, Minamoto no Yoritomo, established a new form of government known as the shogunate. Although the emperor remained the official ruler of Japan, the real power now belonged to the shogun, the military leader of the samurai. The creation of the shogunate marks the beginning of Japan's feudal era. Under this system, the country was divided among powerful regional lords called daimyo. Each daimyo controlled large territories and maintained their own armies of samurai. These warriors swore loyalty to their lord and were expected to fight and die for him if necessary. In return, they were given land, protection, and social status. The relationship between daimyo and samurai was built on loyalty and duty. This system helped maintain order across Japan, but it also created constant tension between rival lords. Warfare became a regular part of life. Samurai trained from a young age in martial arts, horseback riding, archery, and sword fighting. Their skill and discipline made them feared warriors on the battlefield. The samurai were not just fighters. Over time, they developed a strict moral code known as Bushido, often translated as the way of the warrior. This code guided how samurai lived, fought, and died. Bushido emphasized honor, courage, loyalty, and self-discipline. A samurai was expected to remain calm in the face of danger and to place duty above personal desires. Dishonor was considered worse than death. In extreme cases, a samurai who failed in his duty might perform a ritual act of suicide known as seppuku to restore his honor. This strong sense of discipline shaped samurai culture for centuries. It also influenced Japanese society more broadly, teaching values such as respect, loyalty, and perseverance. The image of the samurai as a noble warrior became deeply rooted in the identity of Japan. Despite the strict code of honor, Japan during the feudal era was often unstable. Rival daimyo constantly fought for territory and influence. This period of conflict, known as the Sengoku period, lasted from the 15th to the 16th century and became one of the most violent times in Japanese history. Powerful warlords built massive castles, gathered armies, and fought countless battles. Some leaders dreamed of uniting the entire country under their rule. Among these ambitious figures were three men who would change Japan forever: Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu. Nobunaga began the process of unifying Japan by defeating many rival clans. After his death, Hideyoshi continued the effort and brought most of the country under control. Finally, Tokugawa Ieyasu secured victory in the decisive Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. After his victory, Tokugawa Ieyasu established the Tokugawa shogunate, which ruled Japan for more than 250 years. This period, known as the Edo period, brought relative peace and stability to the country. Because large-scale wars were no longer common, the role of the samurai began to change. Instead of constantly fighting battles, many samurai became administrators, government officials, and scholars. They helped manage cities, collect taxes, and maintain order across the land. Samurai still carried their swords as symbols of their status, but their daily lives often focused on governance rather than warfare. During this peaceful era, Japanese culture flourished. Cities grew, trade expanded, and arts such as theater, poetry, and painting developed. The samurai class remained respected and powerful, but the world around them was slowly changing. While Japan experienced internal stability, the Tokugawa government also adopted a policy of isolation. Foreign influence was carefully controlled, and most trade with other nations was limited. This policy, known as Sengoku, kept Japan largely closed to the outside world for more than 2 centuries. The government feared that foreign powers and religions could weaken its control. As a result, Japanese society developed in relative isolation. During this time, the samurai continued to serve the government and maintain social order. However, economic changes began to challenge their traditional position. Merchants and traders became wealthier, while many samurai struggled financially because their income remained fixed. This shift slowly weakened the power of the samurai class. Everything began to change in the mid-19th century. In 1853, American naval forces arrived in Japan with powerful warships and demanded that the country open its ports to international trade. Faced with military pressure and the reality of modern technology, the Tokugawa government could no longer maintain isolation. Japan soon began signing treaties with foreign nations. These events shocked the country and revealed how far Japan had fallen behind Western powers in technology and military strength. Many Japanese leaders realized that dramatic reforms were necessary to protect the nation's independence. This period of crisis eventually led to the fall of the Tokugawa shogunate and the restoration of imperial rule in 1868. This event is known as the Meiji Restoration. The Meiji Restoration marked the beginning of modern Japan. The new government launched massive reforms to transform the country into a modern industrial nation. Western technology, education, and military systems were rapidly adopted. As part of these reforms, the traditional samurai class was officially abolished. Samurai were no longer allowed to carry swords in public, and their special privileges were removed. For many warriors, this change was painful. Their identity and way of life had defined Japan for centuries. Some former samurai resisted the new order, leading to rebellions such as the Satsuma Rebellion in 1877, but the modernizing government eventually defeated these uprisings. Japan moved forward into a new era, building factories, railways, and a modern army. Although the samurai as a social class disappeared, their legacy never truly vanished. The values associated with Bushido discipline, loyalty, courage, and honor continued to influence Japanese culture and society. Even today, the image of the samurai remains one of the most powerful symbols of Japan's history. Their stories are told in books, films, and traditions that keep their memory alive. From humble warriors serving local clans to powerful leaders shaping the destiny of a nation, the samurai helped define Japan for centuries. Their rise and fall reflects the larger story of Japan itself, a nation that moved from feudal battles and warrior rule to modern industry and global influence. The samurai may no longer walk the streets with swords at their side, but their spirit still echoes through Japan's culture, discipline, and identity. And if you enjoyed this journey through the history of Japan and the legendary samurai, make sure to subscribe and stay with us for more powerful stories from the past that continue to shape our world today.